Ok. D'accord. Mhm.
Bon, ça marche. Kalimera, bonjour. Good morning. So let me introduce me. I'm Nicolae Bala. I'm the director of the French Institute in Greece, here in Athens. And I'm very happy to welcome you here today, the day after President Macron announced an ambitious France 2030 investment plan of 30 billion euros in innovation in high added value sectors such as nuclear energy, space, aerospace, green hydrogen, artificial intelligence, and so on. The objective of this plan is to build the champions of tomorrow to face up to Chinese and American competition. As you may know, France has always promoted a stronger Europe with a capacity to stand firm on its own values, to defend and promote its own ideas and interests in order not to be reduced to a playing field of out of Europe major powers. This ambition also involves a common and shared strategy in the field of innovation. This is what France will be promoting in a few weeks when it starts assuming the presidency of the European Union on January the 1st, 2022. This stronger Europe also involves privileged links with other EU member countries, in particular with Greece. Is it necessary to remind the audience of the privileged ties, a mixture of mutual admiration and trust that France and Greece have been keeping for more than 200 years. Those privileged links have just been spectacularly reaffirmed by the strategic partnership agreement signed a few days ago and which binds the destiny of our two nations. Our respective countries have already launched strong initiatives in order to structure and build our tech ecosystems, La French Tech, and more recently, Elevate Greece. It is still fragile when it comes to sovereignty and attractiveness. Indeed, in Greece, as in France, we face a brain drain phenomenon and a lack of risk culture when it comes to investment and entrepreneurship. That is why we need to go further in terms of innovation, collaborations to create synergies between the European countries and to contribute to the emergence of European tech giants by supporting our scale-ups together. Helping the Greek and the French ecosystems to join forces by discovering our main actors and by developing collaboration between them in order to go further is a goal within our reach. The French Institute of Greece is therefore happy to co-organize this event with the Economic Department of the French Embassy in Greece, represented here by Emmanuel Balestro, Economic Counselor at the Embassy, to give an overview of the investment possibilities in France and in Greece, and to understand the role of the French Tech, an entity that we will soon have as a community here in Athens. I would like to thank our partners on this event, Business France, La French Tech, the National Bank of Greece, but also all the partners actively involved in the French Tech community project here in Greece. I give now the floor to the moderator of this event, Thibaut Msika, who works at the Economic Department at the French Embassy in Greece. Thank you. Merci.
Dear all, Kalimera, good morning, everyone. And thank you all for being here today and welcome to this beautiful venue of the French Institute of Greece for our first session of the Greek-French Tech and Investment Day. I also warmly welcome all the viewers connected online who, for obvious safety reasons, cannot be physically present with us today. I would first of all like to thank very warmly the French Institute. Thanks to the director of the French Institute, Nicolas Ebalin, for receiving us today. And thank you very much to all the staff who managed the technical part of the organization of this event. A very warm thanks to Marie Villon, head of community at the French Tech Central in Paris, and Alberto Frescura, a senior investment advisor at Business France Invest, for coming respectively from Paris and Milan. Also, very warm thanks to all the speakers that will make an intervention today. Spiros Arsenis, Head of Business Innovation Development at NBG Business Seed. Labros Digonis, Chief Executive Officer of Insibio. Alexandros Sekalariou, Chief Operating Officer of Kinvent, and Evangelos Angelides, CEO of Profile Software. Of course, thanks to Emmanuel Boulestro, Head of the Economic Service of the French Embassy, and Mohamed Rojdi, Scientific and University Cooperation Attaché, for giving us the possibility to make such an initiative happen. Finally, thank you very much to Julie Mouquet, Scientific and University Cooperation Officer, who I have the pleasure, I've had the pleasure to work with for more than 1 year and a half to develop cooperation with Greece in the tech and innovation sector. If we are here today, it's because our two countries obviously share very close ties, should they be historical, cultural, but also strategic. The news giving us plenty of examples of these continuous ties. And the French Embassy is very much committed to the idea that cooperation should also be focused on future-oriented sectors of tech and innovation. in order to facilitate the emergence of future economic leaders, which will provide breakthrough innovations shaping our future. The objective of this first session will be to explore one of the fundamental aspects of the development of tech ecosystems, which is investment. And in this regard, we need to seize the momentum, making that France and Greece do have very complementary agendas. On the one hand, France has now become a leader in terms of tech and innovation. Alberto Frescura and Marie Villon will give a way better and more detailed examples of this in the first and in the second part of this event. But let me give a few figures. Last year, more than 5.4 billion euros were raised through 620 roundtables despite COVID crisis, which ranks the country, France, at the first place among the European Union countries. On the first semester of 2021, this dynamic is even accelerating, with already more than 5.1 billion raised and even 2 billion only in September. In addition, no further than yesterday, the French tech ecosystem announced that France now counts 19 unicorns, those startups capitalized to at least 1 billion euros, with more actors seeking an international development. On the other hand, and on this point, Spiros Arsenis will give a way better illustration, Greece has recently evolved very fast in terms of digital capacities and entrepreneurship, capitalizing on significant advantages, should they be at the education system, openness of the country, and pretty much incomparable work atmosphere, to only name but a few. The ecosystem had grown more and more resilient after having witnessed great success stories on the aftermath of the financial crisis more than 10 years ago, and is now entering a phase of consolidation, especially in terms of attracting the financings. But both agendas are also de facto aligned by the necessity to make our economies more resilient and more climate efficient. This necessity has, of course, taken an even more significant dimension during the sanitary and economic crisis we've been going through, and is now at the very center of the recovery plan negotiated at the European Union level, which will be implemented throughout the coming years. In this context, cooperation is not only possible, it is an absolute necessity. Because only in a spirit of working together are we going to reach the immense challenges imposed to us. In this spirit, and in order to grasp all the possibilities offered to our two ecosystems, the first session of today's event will be divided into two parts. A first part, led by Alberto Frescura, Senior Investment Advisor at Business France Invest, who will give a presentation about the investment and development framework for tech companies in France. The presentation will be followed by the testimony from Evangelos Angelides, CEO of Profile Software. The second part will be led by Spiros Arsenis, Head of Business Innovation Development at NBG Business School, who will give a presentation about the investment and development framework for tech companies in Greece. The presentation will then be followed by a testimony from Labros Digonis, CEO of Incibio, and Alexandros Sakelariou, COO of Kinvent. After each session, we will take questions both from the audience physically present and from the audience online. I thank you all for your attention, and I will now give the floor to Alberto Frescura for a presentation of about 30 minutes on the investment and development opportunities for tech companies in France. Alberto, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you a lot to Thibault and the French Embassy and Institut Français for having organized this event and for having involved me in this presentation. The goal of my presentation today is to give you some hints and some informations about investment opportunities in France, with a special focus on the tech and technological innovation sector in the country. So first of all, let me introduce myself. So Alberto Frescura, I am French and Italian, as you may have noticed from my name. I work for the French Embassy in Italy and for a special agency called Business France. I have a 12 years experience in international development, an academic background of politics, and a master's degree in economics. I've been working since 2019 for Business France, this national public agency in charge of the internationalization of the French economy. So on one hand, we do help French companies who will to export and promote their products and services abroad. And on the other side, the mission I'm in charge of is mostly the one to support and advise foreign companies, so Greek companies in my case, willing to invest and to develop their business in France. So as I said, I will pass now through my presentation. So first of all, I will give you a general overview of why you should consider and think about France for your international development. I will then present briefly in a detail the opportunities presented and emerged with the Recovery National Plan after COVID crisis last year. And I will give you also some information about the French and innovation tech environment in France. And then I will have the pleasure to give the floor to a company that already succeeded in France. So it is important also to have, besides from the institutional point of view, also the field point of view of a company. So why to choose and to think and take into consideration France as a possible destination for your international development and investment? I will pass very briefly. I put some facts. I will send you the presentation after, so you will have all the information together. So just think that France is put at the heart of Europe. It is very well connected with all the countries in Europe and abroad. It's the second largest market in Europe after Germany. Direct 68 million consumers in the country and direct access to 500 million consumers in Europe and French-speaking countries. The first Euro stock market in Europe, Euronext, is based in Paris, which is the most important tech city in Europe. On the other side, there is a very well and skilled population with almost 1 million engineers, which are available for innovative companies which want to innovate and do research and development in France. Besides these macroeconomic strengths that France benefits, the government tried to increase the attractiveness of the French business environment with some reforms, especially starting from 2017 with the presidency of President Emmanuel Macron. Many reforms have been put in place, and especially all the reforms that have been put in place starting from 2017 tried to respond to three main obstacles that were reported from national and foreign companies. The first was the complication of relations between companies and the public administration. So the first big pack of reforms tried to simplify and digitalize the relations between public administrations and company with the creation of platforms, a digitalized platform dedicated to the relations between these two parts. And this, of course, paid off since from 25% of redundancies in 2014, we passed to 5% in 2019, so a decrease of 5 times. So this means that these reforms and this volunteer to reduce the complication of relations just was very important and paid off. The second main pillar was about the labor market. So many companies, national and abroad companies, noticed that the labor market in France were quite rigid. So the second pillar of the reforms that have been put in place tried to flexibilize and create a more flexible labor market and reducing the security charge contributions for companies. And the third, but not less important than the others, is the progressive reduction of taxation for corporate production and capital. Just consider that we passed from a percentage of 33.3 for tax of capital of our corporates in 2017 to 25% next year. So it is an important decrease that goes in the direction of creating France as a more attractive country for foreign investors. Of course, all these reforms, as I said, paid off since the rate of unemployment dropped down to 7%, so the lowest level in the last 10 years. The labor cost also has been reduced and the same level of the big European countries. And almost the confidence of the new business environment is also testimonied by the fact that in only 1 year, 800,000 new companies have been created in France. All this, so macroeconomic strengths and volunteer of the will of the government to create a more business-friendly environment, created a right dynamic that in 2019 and 2020 transformed France as the first destination of foreign investment in Europe. Just consider that about 90% of all direct investment directed to Europe were realized or initiated in France in 2020, despite the COVID crisis. So, of course, one important fact to consider is that many projects that have been realized in 2020 were already initiated and launched in 2019, so before the COVID crisis. But the government too tried to give a great impulsion and to support businesses during the crisis with some special plan supporting and to minimize the business lags that could create from the lockdown from March to May 2020, supporting the businesses and trying to give some funds and some state-granted loans at special rates for companies in order to give them cash and to guarantee a correct cash flow. Between June and August, another plan to support the more affected sectors such as tourism, since the travels were of course not permitted, and also to support tech and startup businesses. And then after this emergency period, so the government thought about a plan to capitalize all this dynamic growth with a national recovery plan of an amount of almost 100 billion euros. The plan is called the France Relance, which means Relaunch France. These 100 billion euros are structured around the three main pillars. The first is the one of the green transition, and I think that this is important because many possibilities have been created and emerged for foreign companies and French company based related to this relaunch plan. So all companies that have projects and solutions to make France a greener economy are of course welcome. All the companies that have products and services to reduce the waste of water, to reduce the waste of electricity, and to create an economy carbon neutral, of course, are privileged in France by this Recovery National Plan. And many call of projects have been launched starting from 2020 last year, 21 and 22. So they are all publicated on the site of the Ministry of Economy, and all the companies can applicate with a base in France. So the second main pillar was to increase the competitiveness of the French tissue and economic tissue. First of all, with the reduction of course, production taxes. So the reform I told you before started in 2017, which will continue and which will be progressive in the next few years. This plan also, this part of the plan is also dedicated to repatriate in France some production, strategic production that were delocalized in the past years abroad, such as in Far East, such as in Turkey, such as in the United States, for key sectors like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and especially also all the technology for future, and of course, health sector, which was very, very critical during the COVID period. And then, well, the last third, let's say, of this recovery plan is dedicated to social and regional cohesion. So regarding the creation of new infrastructure in France and to connect all the territories in a correct way. A very important part, as I said, was dedicated to competitiveness, and a special part of this competitiveness package is dedicated to support innovative technologies and startups and the technological environment. About 10 billion euros are dedicated for this digital and special innovative technology sector. 3.5 billion are completely dedicated to technologies for e-health, so applied of health. 3.7 billion to develop and to support the creation of new startups and the development of their businesses in France. 2.3 billion for the digital transformation of the public administration. So there too, if you do have technologies, if you do have application and solution to modernize and to digitalize the public administration, many call of projects have been launched in order to consent you to bring your technology and your innovation to the French public administration. So another big opportunity for national and foreign investors in this sector. And then some other funds have been allocated for digital professions and to ensuring a correct access to fundamental digital technologies to everybody. I talked about startups, so I think it is important also to focus a little bit on this sector. President Macron, at the beginning of his presidency, said that he wanted in France to become a startup nation. And since 2017, this, I think, paid off, and he succeeded in his will. The government did everything it could to support startups during COVID, as I said, giving the same access to funds and state guaranteed loans as for companies, accelerate the repayment of a business tax credit for expenditures that were already engaged for R&D expenditure for startups. Just keep in mind that according to EY, France has the most favorable tax credit system in Europe, which consented to get back, like a tax credit, 30% of your expenditures of R&D activities and R&D personnel. So this is the most favorable dispositive in Europe. And thanks also to the fact that also 1 million engineers are available in France for your innovation and your R&D activities. And then, so also during the COVID period, the government of France put in place some public venture funds in order to co-invest with private ones in startups and to guarantee their survival during the crisis. Here, well, I'll detail a little bit more about this plan. Just consider that in the 100 billion recovery national plan, there's also another part dedicated to impart the technologies, since some key industrial sectors are being identified. And among these, I think it was important to underline the fact that many digital and technological sectors are represented, such as cloud computing, quantum technology, of course, digital health and cybersecurity. So there too, if you do have an activity regarding this sector, it may be interesting to see what France can provide to you and which opportunities can be provided to you in the country. So I wanted to give you an overview of, not a very detailed, but really an overview of the opportunities that were created with the National Recovery Plan. But France represents also an opportunity in itself for the structure and the organization of its tech and innovation system. I will give you some figures just to let you know that France is the 6th world economy for the expenditures in R&D. As I said, the most favorable R&D tax treatment. The organization of the startup ecosystem have been organized since 2017 around a movement which is called the French Tech, which we'll have the opportunity and the chance to know more about later, which gathered institutional and private actors together. And all these factors, all these positive dynamisms brought to the creation of many startups, so a sector that has been really very encouraged. And in 2019, we counted about 10,000 startups in France. Today, if I'm not wrong, we are at around 15,000. So a growth of 20% in just 1 year, which is very, very impressive. As I said, so the French Tech environment gathered public and private actors. Regarding the fundraising, Thibault announced some facts before. So 5.4 billions were raised last year in 501 rounds. Before COVID crisis, there were 5 billion. So last year, despite the COVID crisis, France was the first startup ecosystem in fundraising for startups. And if you see from 2016 to 2021, so the fund raised by startups grew about 5 times plus in just 6 years, always from EY facts. An historical date, as Thibault also said, for 21st and 22nd of September, just in 48 hours, 1.2 billion euros were raised by 4 startups, so which is an amount bigger than the one raised in the old 2015. So the most important raising was the one by Sorare. I don't know, it is a startup with a play platform with digital cards for soccer, which raised $680 million, which was the biggest and the most important raising of Series B in Europe ever performed till now. I wanted to show also, just to give a benchmark in the last 5 years, I took into considerations the startups that in 1 year could reach at least 40 million euros of fundraising. So you saw that in 2017, which is the period you understood from which I take into consideration all these facts, were only 7. They became 17 in 2018, 22 the following year, and last year 28. And this year, the projection just shows that about 50 startups will reach $40 million of fundraising. So you see 6 times plus. So this also to witness and to testimony the dynamism and the good environment that in France has been created for digital and technological sector. Of course, we cannot speak about startups without saying something about unicorns. In 2021, I think the facts changed a little bit. We are maybe at 18 unicorns so far for this year that have been created, which is much more than the last years. So as you can see, in 2014, there was only 1 unicorn that have been created in France. Just to remember, unicorns are startups that have reached a value market of at least $1 billion. So it was 1 in 2014 that was created, and in 2021 we are already at 18. I'm sorry for the not correct date that is indicated in the presentation. So, well, this was, as I said, a very generic presentation to give you some hints of why you should choose France, or to think and to take into consideration France as your destination for development or investment. Of course, we are at your complete disposal to advise you, to give information, and to try to help you in establish partnerships and investment projects in the country. As I said, mine was an institutional point of view, so I hope I gave you the will to detail a little bit more the opportunities that are in France. But more important, maybe, for entrepreneurs like you is to hear about a field success story. So this is why I will give the stage to Profile Software, which I have the honor to have here today. Thank you very much.
Ξέρεις που το έχουμε βάλει. Α, το βρήκα. Ναι. Okay. Okay. Good morning to everyone. My name is Vangelis Angelidis. I'm the CEO of Profile Software. We are a company originating in Greece, and we are building financial software for financial institutions, banks, investors, and the likes. Thank you very much for having us today. We would like to thank the Institute. We would like to thank Alberto, your very nice presentation, which I took my notes and we will be in touch, definitely. So let me give you our experience, for our French experience, okay? Our investment in France started in 2017. During that times, we were talking to our investors and our community. And we were, we were talking to people and we were saying, yeah, we're thinking to make an investment in France. People were saying, have you thought about it? Are you serious? We said, yes, very much. They were saying, are you aware of the labor laws, of all these issues? We said, yeah, and indeed that was an issue until that time. But as Alberto said, we were also aware of the reforms that were about to happen. And that is really the reason why we decided to move ahead. And up to date, we are very happy with our investment. So let me brief you a little bit about who we are, what are we doing, and how did we come across with our French experience. So Profile Software is a company originated in Greece. We have about 30 years of life. We have 10 subsidiaries, most of them overseas, including France, of course. We have clients in 45 countries. We're servicing about 300 clients all over the globe, and we have a pretty satisfactory retention rate of 98%. Our main solutions are the following. We are building investment management software with the logo Axia down on the bottom. This is a software that addresses to fund managers, wealth managers, and custodians. With this software, we have managed to penetrate France, and we already have a couple of very, very important French funds as clients. Risk-Avert is our solution for risk management. We're providing full compliance to all EBA regulations and BAL rules as well, and we provide the full reporting package in all aspects. FMS is the core banking solution of ours, where we are able to provide our clients with their backbone, our banking clients with their backbone system for deposits, loans, credit cards, corporate accounts, and payment systems. And the evolution of FMS is the Finuevo, which is the digital banking platform of ours that addresses to any type of organization, is fully digital, fully mobile, all in a box, able to interlink with all subsystems of a bank. A few words about our geographies. You can see that our clients are pretty much everywhere, but mostly concentrated in Europe and some in Africa and the Middle East, of course. And our subsidiaries, our legal entities, except from Athens, you can see, of course, Paris, London, Oslo, Stockholm, Dubai, Miami, and Singapore. A few words about our clients. I would like to mention the most relevant to our discussion today, Ditto Bank in the middle. Ditto Bank is a French startup that is a spin-out of Travelex Group. So they have launched a digital bank mainly through a mobile app that we have built for them. And there's another one, the 21st Capital is a very important fund in Paris as well. You can also see various blue chip clients in our clientele, such as Danske Bank in the Nordics, huge banks, about 500 billion of assets, Swedbank, Nordea, and so. One more very important client that also relates to our French investment is the Sumitomo Bank. Probably you are aware, one of the biggest Japanese investment banks. They are a client of ours since the last couple of years. We are building their treasury management solution of them based on the French software that we acquired 3 years ago. Following, I have some slides about our solutions. I'm not going to spend too much time. This is how the digital banking looks over mobile and desktop. The core banking, the risk management system with various statistics, KPIs, very useful tool to any bank's CFO. And the Acumen Plus. That solution was the product of Login SA that we acquired in 2017. This is a complete STP for all treasury operations, meaning for all banking dealing rooms. This is a fully integrated system. This is a one single platform that provides homogeneous data, easy and quick in analyzing data, provides access to historical data, and easy extraction. Also a very powerful transaction engine. You can see the feel looks very much like a Bloomberg-like, which is something that the traders love, and it's very, very easy to use and operate with just a few clicks. That is the solution that Sumitomo Bank is being implemented, by the way. And the Axia for investment management front-to-back system, providing onboarding, access to clients, data management, transactions, reporting, custody, and everything. So I'm going to talk a bit about the reasons why we decided to invest in France. Our company is, as I said earlier on, a Greek origin company, and indeed Login SI was our first international investment. So that was a serious decision for us. Why France? Definitely, we were aware that France is a leading European country at the center of Europe, connecting Europe with other countries. Also, France was providing us the ability to access many French-speaking countries, which are officially 29, according to the members of Organisation Internationale de Francophonie, in 84 countries. And I believe that the French-speaking population globally is about 300 million, which is a very important number. Therefore, France was providing us with a very strong logo that we could use to our products and sell them in France, but also overseas. Also, France has strong cultural, political, and economic connections with Greece. We have a very long history of alignment. I would say unquestionable, non-negotiable alignments through many crises, ups and downs. We're both members to EU, UN, NATO, various chambers, World Trade Organization, etc. We're both located in the Mediterranean, sharing Western civilization heritage and many cultural similarities. You have more than 100 French subsidiaries in Greece, in energy, agri-food, infrastructure, transportation, and tourism, employing more than 10,000 people, which is very important for the Greek economy. France was the 7th investor in Greece with about 1.5 billion in 2019, or about 4% of foreign direct investment, which was up by 15% compared to 2018. And also, Greek investments in France, meaning vice versa, were 257 million in 2019. Not that much yet, but we believe that this number could grow through the initiatives that you have described today, Alberto. Nevertheless, there are about 120 subsidiaries of Greek groups, companies, and joint ventures present in almost all sectors in France, particularly in industry, energy, infrastructure, transportation, consumer, and pharmaceuticals. Perhaps not that much in technology yet. We consider ourselves as a Greek pioneer to that aspect, but I believe more will follow soon. Well, the cultural element was very important for us because it provided very easy fit and feel in integrating the teams together, which is very important when you're making a serious investment overseas. You need to be sure that the teams will be able to communicate together and to work very much as one team. Another reason why we decided to invest in France is because the financial sector of France is really soaring, and our clients is in the financial sector, so that was important. Financial activities accounted for 4% of total value added in France in 2019, of which approximately 60% was in the banking industry. The banking industry employs about 360,000 people, representing almost 2% of the private workforce in France, and they are recruiting about 44,000 annually. The banking sector is one of France's 6 main economic areas. According to the Financial Stability Board, four French banks are amongst the 8 euro area global systemic important banks. And of course, France has a long tradition in multi-billion funds, managing pensions, but also individual investments of about 1.6 trillion of assets. So France is a huge market for financial software and financial services. Also, we were looking for technological capabilities in order to make our investment. And definitely we found in France. Technology is booming. We saw a lot of statistics from your presentation earlier on. France is the first country to have adopted fintechs, and we have just seen the number of unicorns that emerged out of that. We definitely have a pool of great quality of engineers and mathematicians. Amazing quality and and high standards of professionalism, I must say. And also, French platforms are really widely accepted globally. The IT spending in France, according to our statistics, is about 8 to 10 billion every year, which is a significant number. It's a really big number for IT spending. Therefore, that investment was intended to provide us access to know-how and skillful employees, which actually it did. Few more statistics. So let's discuss a little bit more details about Login SA and what happened through the joint times with Profile Software. So in July 2017, we have acquired Login. Login was a company that was established by French engineers like 30 years ago. And the major shareholder was also Oracle. For some reasons, Oracle was decided to divest. Probably they had some issues. They didn't want to maintain a company of that size any longer. And we came to an agreement with them to acquire Login SA, 100%. Good thing, among others, is that we have managed to initiate a relationship with Oracle, mainly OFSS, which is the owner of the FlexCube solution for banks. And ever since, we are selling together to many clients overseas our solutions, which is great for Profile as well. So that was a synergy that came as well. Another thing that we managed to do and invested heavily was the integration. Integration is this type of investments is very important, because if you don't manage to integrate teams, people, and technologies, it's rarely successful. That was successful not only because of the cultural aspects, but because we had, unlike others, we had decided to allow room to our French colleagues to promote their initiatives. We didn't micromanage. We decided to work more as a team rather as to dictate what needs to be done as a shareholder. I believe that was appreciated and the results were very positive. So after 3 years, we are at a position to be able to market Login solutions all over the globe. I mentioned Sumitomo. Perhaps I should also mention the Central Bank of Egypt is a client of ours, and others. Very important logos. And that came through the joint work with our French colleagues. The solution has been evolved during the last 3 years. We have invested a lot in French engineers, and we have managed to take a legacy solution to be a fully cloud solution, totally digital, totally accessibly remotely, providing services 24/7 to any bank's dealing room, which is great news for our clients. And also we have managed to expand our clientele to France, but other countries as well. Therefore, after 3 years, I need to say that our investment was proved successful. I would recommend other software companies to try to make this type of initiatives in France. We believe that the economic, financial, and technology framework is totally friendly, much friendlier than what used to be. And as a conclusion to my presentation, I believe that that was really the kickoff of the internationalization of Profile Software, which today has evolved to a company that is making 70% of our incomes from non-Greek clients. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation. I would like to thank you very much and be happy to take questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Evangelos. Please come with us. Come with us. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you once again, Alberto. So that was interesting because we had 2 points of views, 2 very different point of views from the institutional point of view and from an investor point of view about the main reasons to trigger an investment towards France. And before taking the questions of the audience, I would have maybe a first question to both of you. As an institution and as an investor, what would be for you the main advice you would give to a client or partner, or for you, a client, to trigger an investment to France? Maybe you can start, Evangelos.
Yeah, I believe the most important thing is to know very well what you are looking for.
Mhm.
So if you're looking for a good quality of resources and a high level of technology, I believe France is the place. Of course, the market is very strong, as I explained earlier on, especially for financial services, which is our domain. So that's the number 2. And number 3, my advice would be to invest a lot of time and energy in integration. Of course, cultural, both countries are not that far in the cultural aspect, but still, you need to be very careful to identify how do you want to govern your new investment in order for the business to be able to operate smoothly and to produce what is expected.
Thank you very much. So, Alberto, what would be the first elements you would give to a client coming to you and willing to invest?
So I agree with you when you say that it is important for a company to know first what you want and which kind of developments you wish in France, since there are many ways you can develop in the country. So first of all, via an acquisition, as you did in France, or via a creation, via a partnership, joint venture. So the important is that you understand before which would be the model that most fit with your wishes and with the structure of your company. Secondly, I think it is important also to understand if your activity, where your activity can have a real potential in France, since everybody from outside thinks immediately to Paris, which can be comprehensible, but Paris is not the only place in France where to be. So just take into consideration also the quality of life for eventually your employees, the disponibility, availability of engineers of a specific work, a specific job. So just take into consideration many things and just do not be afraid of these big steps of going abroad, since we still are in Europe. As you said, culture is very similar and the environment of business is very friendly, much more than it used to be.
Thank you very much. So now I will give the floor to the audience. Do anyone has a question for our 2 speakers? Yes, please.
Good morning to Mr. Ladies. Of course, your choice to invest in France was through an acquisition. Were you ever thinking of going organically there and establish yourself, or it was first the identification of the target that triggered the consideration of the French market before you go to the next step? That's a very important decision-making process, and I wonder how you initially took that decision.
That was actually one of our dilemmas. Do we go organically or through acquisition? Definitely. I believe that markets like France are difficult to be penetrated organically, especially from someone coming from Greece. And mind you, 2016, 2017, the reputation of Greece was not that high. Okay, so definitely having a local establishment with local managers definitely helps the organic penetration as well. And indeed, we have created joint teams not only for the treasury solution of Login SA, but we are, as we speak today, promoting profile solutions, meaning Greek solutions, solutions that are being developed from Greek engineers to the French market as well. Speaking for the investment management solution has been sold in France, the risk management solution as well, and the banking solution as well. So I believe it goes together, but for the particular market of France, it's better to have a local establishment through an acquisition and build on that.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Down there.
Hello, my name is Panayotis. Thank you for the event today. Um, I have a question that is more related to tech startups, not established companies yet. To explain, my company is in the data and analytics sector and the artificial intelligence. Actually, we try to provide the data to brands like Unilever or L'Oreal for e-commerce. We have many customers around the world in 11 countries. Actually, Carrefour in Italy is our customer. And we recently opened a subsidiary in London. Of course, France is closer to us as Europe. London is no more, the UK is not more Europe. And we understand France being a very big country, and we also want to enter there. What is not clear to me is, as a startup, what is the initiative from the French government to attract a startup? We're not able to invest or buy a company. We want to find any offering that makes us make an office locally in France. This could be a grant or lower taxes or access to capital, because there are French VCs like Partech, that we are really trying to reach out to. So specifically, and maybe Alberto, the question is for you, for a startup in Greece, how and what's the benefit to try and go into France? We're not investors. We cannot put money. We try to attract money.
Very clear. So as I said, so the advantages of coming to France is, first of all, so all the macroeconomic advantages that you can find, of course, the organization of the value chain of the technological sector, so which with the movement of the French tech, with institutional and private actors that you can be in contact with. I think that in your case, it is very important also the fact that in Paris or in France, you may find many incubators and accelerators that can host your startup, just have one person to try to help you to make contacts with potential clients and to put you into network in France, which I think when you do not buy an existing company which already has a network by itself that has been developed in the past year, it is quite difficult to develop from zero clients and your network in locally. So I think that the fact that you pass by an incubator accelerator, which does this as it works every day, could help you also to establish in France more quickly and in a more efficient way. Regarding the support loans and grants we were talking about, it's always a little bit delicate to give a first and detailed list, let's say, of what is possible to have. Of course, we can discuss more in the details about your wishes and about your needs and wills. But just to say, if you do hire and have just one person in France, like an engineer profile, you can benefit from tax credit at the level of 30% on his activities if he does research or also developmental products and adapting the product to the French market, which I think could be interesting. The fact also that you work for Carrefour, if I understood correctly, in Italy, could be a good introduction to pass maybe to the headquarters of Carrefour in France. And of course, we as public agency, we are there to support you and to give you all the details and advising you before coming there, visiting new places, put you in contact with potential clients and potential partners in order to give you really an overview of what you could find locally, so to facilitate your eventual decision.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
To continue your question, which is very interesting, I would have a question to you, Evangelos. You mentioned that your first investment in France happened in 2017, right? Have you seen an evolution about the investment framework in France from 2017 and now in 2021. What is the difference, and have you noticed any?
As I said in my introduction, we started evaluating the investment in 2016, actually, okay, a year ago. That year, the reforms were not there yet. So people were really saying us, are you nuts? Where are you going? I mean, are you aware of the labor laws and the social things and the likes? We also knew that Temenos, one of the giants of our sector, did not have a good experience in France some years ago. They had some legal issues and the like. So however, we decided to move ahead. We were aware of the reforms that were coming, and I believe that we've made the right choice. And of course, it came together with the right integration in order to keep the employee sentiment in good shape and in peace. Okay. Having said that, yeah, ever since we have seen these reforms in action, we, practically we didn't have to use them. I mean, we didn't lay off people actually, so that was not really something practical for us. But we can see the sentiment of the market. The business sentiment has changed only from the announcement of these reforms. You can see the financial and the business activity in the La Défense area that was completely different only from the announcement of this type of measures. And definitely today, you can see a lot of startups and a lot of movement in all parts of Paris and France, subject to this, which is good for our business as well, which means that there is market. There is a very lively market. There's a market that understands our solution and also complements. For instance, there may be a startup somewhere in France that could complement our solution in data analytics, as you said earlier on. So yeah, and also we are very much interested in the public assistance in R&D. This is something that we are looking at very heavily because practically what we do is R&D. About 50% of our cost is R&D. So this may be a very important measure as well that we care very much to investigate. Thank you
very much. Any other questions?
More like an experience I would like to share because it's relevant to the discussion currently. We did have an experience in France. I was about to say more about that, but that's more relevant now. We tried because as a startup we would not have the capital to invest that. Hence the question before directly. But we tried to use Business France and other conduits in order to examine the possibilities of collaborations, either through a strategic collaboration or partnership and so on. So we had discussions very good, very productive with Business France in London, where that's one, where they tried to identify potential actually accelerators and areas where we could find the best partnerships. So that was the Lyon Biopole, because at the time we did have a product in cosmetics, and but it just didn't happen because there were no partnerships there. So although the help from Business France was back in 2017, 2017 is almost a year that it was very transient in what was about to happen, but the help was great, but it just didn't happen to do it. The second experience is through our as in CBO, our first prize in Vivatech event through Sanofi in big data in bio analytics. So the next conduit was the Alsace Bio Valley. So indeed, it's exactly the same. We tried the same mode of identifying a partnership, but it just didn't happen. But the environment of helping startups in France is there. We did have a very good reception, examine all the possibilities. It just didn't happen. I don't know whether this year that could be even more favorable. But I mean, I could own your suggestions that these are possibilities that can work, and it's a matter of luck whether that will be fruitful immediately or not. Thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you very much. Any
Thank you very
other
much.
question, remarks, comments? All right, so I would have maybe another question to both of you. We talked about the good sizes and the good sides and the reforms that has been implemented in France to attract investments. What are still, like, in your perception, still the red tapes and all the maybe the bureaucracy red tapes? France is a country that doesn't have a very good reputation in this regard. Can you maybe share a bit of your experience in this regard? Some elements to be aware of, some elements to maybe to take into account from an investor point of view, and then maybe from an institutional point of view.
Yeah, we come from Greece, so we have bureaucracy as well. So that was not really news for us. We were used to that. I cannot really say that that was a blocker to us. Definitely, bureaucracy is an obstacle sometimes to business activity. It takes time. For instance, if you want to change the name of your business, or if you want to change the legal status of your company, may take at least 6 months for some reasons that I really don't understand, but that's the way it is. Anyway, yeah, I believe that automation should help very much in overcoming bureaucracy, and that would be very helpful to business in France and everywhere as well. So my recommendation is to further invest on digitalization, especially in the public sector, yeah, I believe bureaucracy will go down and the business activity will be very much helpful.
So from my side, what I can say is that, of course, bureaucracy everywhere is always a big obstacle for companies. Maybe in France, the bureaucracy is still stronger than maybe what it could be in the United Kingdom or in other countries. But what is important to remember is that maybe there are a lot of administrative steps and procedures in France, but there's a high predictability and visibility of what is necessary to do. And of course, something that is, in my opinion, very important also for businesses is the fact that you can plan your strategy and you can plan your development on the basis of something that remains stable, remains always the same. So, for example, I also have the experience of Italy, where things changes very fast and very often. So for companies, it is very difficult to say in 2 years what they want to do, because they don't know in 2 years what the law, what the regulation will be. But instead in France, maybe it is a little bit more complicated, but you know that in 2, 3, 10 years, the frame will be always the same. So on one side, a little bit stronger than other countries, but still very stable, and you can allow companies to plan and to strategy their development in the country. And especially just to link to what you were saying too, a big part of the Recovery National Plan that was adopted last year is dedicated to the digitalization and simplification of the public administration. Something has already been done for facilitate and simplify the relations between companies and the public administration in order to reduce bureaucracy, of course, and to put less obstacles for the creation of businesses. And so this is the direction that the government decided to give also for the future and the next years.
All right, thank you very much. Any other question in the audience? All right, thank you very much. So I think we will close this session, this first session, and then I will pass the floor to the corresponding part of the session we just had, to the Greek corresponding part, And I will invite now Spiros Arsenis to give a presentation about the investment opportunities and development opportunities on the Greek market.
So, thank you very much for the invitation. It's great being with you today. I'm Spiros Arsenis. I'm the head of the Business Innovation Development of the National Bank of Greece. We are running NBG businesses the last 12 years. And I was invited to talk about investments in Greece and the innovation ecosystem. Last year, we had the launch of Elevate Greece, which is the Greek registry for innovation. And this morning, I took some screenshots I would like to share with you because they give a very nice snapshot of what is happening now in Greece. The last years in Greece, we have almost 2.5 billion invested in companies. This was invested in almost 300 companies. And the whole Greek ecosystem consists of 100 institutions and other bodies. If we want to look closer at this ecosystem, we can find universities, of course, and research centers. We can find big companies like NBG. And also we have all the government initiatives like the registry. And last year, during the COVID era, we had three very big surprises. The first one came with Think Silicon. Think Silicon was acquired by a huge US company. It was an investment made by Yorgos, by Metavalon VC, who is with us today. And it was acquired by Applied Materials. It's a US company in a very big one. What they do, Think Silicon, it's a deep tech startup specialized in designing microchips. It's a very important investment for Greece. It's a company based in Patras and mainly employed people with PhD degrees and masters. The second company acquired was Softomotive. This acquisition was made by Microsoft. which is also very, very important for the whole ecosystem. Softomotive, what they do software for bots. That's their main service. And the biggest surprise was Intrasoft. Intrasoft was a company by another Greek VC, which is called Venture Friends. And up to date, it's the biggest exit we had in Greece. The amount was announced, it was $340 million. And this amount shows us also the maturity of the Greek ecosystem. In fact, we are in the first steps as an innovation ecosystem. And we are hoping that soon, in the following months, we will have we have 4 or 5 startups willing to be the next unicorn. Good news is 3 weeks ago, Blue Ground is a company like Airbnb, but with professional focusing professional clients. Blue Ground has announced that they have concluded a new round of 170 million, which is a big new, which a very nice development. Blue Ground also was, we were happy to be the first investors of Blue Ground. For us, it's a very important development. So, this is our ecosystem. I think this number I have just presented gives a very good idea of what we do in Greece. I consider that we have a central position in this ecosystem. We are present the last 12 years. We have started smoothly with competition. Then we have created an investment branch, in-house investment branch. And in 2018, we have decided to invest heavily to participate as an LP, a limited partner, in 6 VCs. And in last year, we have decided to make follow-ons to many of these previous participations. Nowadays, this year, we focus on fintech, and we are willing to support startup in the fintech domain. We are very active all over Greece. We are not focused in Athens. We travel a lot. Thessaloniki, Patras, Iraklio. And we have also created branch offices for startups in these areas. We have created products tailored, made for startups, e-commerce with no commission and micro financing products. And we are expanding every year. We are also the only bank we have integrated NBG business seeds in we have created a specific division in the bank to integrate this program. As I said, we participate in 5 Equifund funds, Unifund, Metavalon, Marathon, Big Pie, and Synergy. And we had another participation through our affiliate company Εθνική Ασφαλιστική, which we sold. Through using our allocation of capitals, we have invested almost 5 millions of our own money in startups. And we have also, through our competition, we have seen more than 4,000 startups. We heavily depend on synergies. We collaborate with almost all the institutions, all the organizations and companies in Greece and big corporation abroad. We have a great collaboration with Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and all the big consulting houses that provide with pro bono services to our startups. We have a very close collaboration with Bayer, with Onassis Foundation, and many other institutional bodies I will present later. Concerning our financing, we do a lot of angel financing through our competition. We participate with equity in companies. Later you will see in Cibio, which is Labros will present what they do in the healthcare domain. For biggest companies like Kalamata Papadimitriou, Hotel Brain, we finance with debt, and we support other companies from our network with pro bono services through our partners and through our relations. We have just finished our 12th competition, and we have received more than 250 proposals. And what we are planning to do in the next months, we are planning to do workshops by sector with all this in order to get to know better all these new proposals. The cultural workshop, we are organizing it with the Onassis Foundation, the Fintech with MasterCard and Visa, the agrofood with Bayer and the Agricultural University of Athens, tourism with the Chamber of Tourism, health and agro with Bayer. And we use our network of collaborators in order to support better all the startups by sector. Also, we are running boot camps all over Greece, in Patras, Thessaloniki, Heraklion. In these regions, we invite local industrials to come to do some mentoring with the startups. And we were very surprised to see that we have initiated collaborations and contracts and pilot projects with between the local industrials and the startups. Our perception is that all the regions outside Athens, they have a huge potential. They are doing huge steps in innovation, but also local chambers and local industrials need innovation, need this content, and when they have it, they collaborate. Last year, due to the COVID problem, we had initiated our first online bootcamp, which was a huge success, and we will continue this year also. We had also a very close collaboration with almost all Greek public universities and research centers. And we are very proud of our success stories. Almost 30% of the winners of our competition are still alive and in operation, and almost 20% of our winners have received funds. For the third, we will continue for the third year the conference Innovation in Greece. These conferences, we are doing them in Athens, Patras, Heraklion, and Thessaloniki. They allow us to take snapshots of the development of the local innovation ecosystem every year. It's a huge success and with a big participation everywhere. We also support and actively participate in Elevate Greece. We participate in the selection committee of the companies. Now we have more than 500, almost 500 companies in the registry. It's not a huge number, but also it allows us to estimate the Greek ecosystem. And our last pet project is the launch of the Greek Fintech Hub. This is a project we have initiated with Endeavor Greece and with other close partners like the Onassis Foundation, the Chamber of Tourism, the two big universities of Athens, the Economic University and the Kapodistrian University of Athens, and also a European initiative which is called Crowd Dialogue and is supported by the European Commission. We have, after the launch, we have created also some other initiatives in the scope of Greek Fintech Hub. We had the first global event with the participation of 4 banks, the National Bank of Greece, BBVA from Spain, Sela and Intesa from Italy. What we are willing to do, we are willing to investigate the possibility to make co-investments, all the banks together, always in the field of fintech. We have a very close collaboration with the French, with many countries, but specifically with the French embassy. We have a long time collaboration that we wish to make it, to enrich it. We have participated in the 2 Maginot conferences. We have also participated twice in a BPI France event. One of our companies, Lambros will tell more afterwards, Insibio has won the first prize of the Sanofi competition, and we have also received in our premises executives from Bank of France. I hope I gave you a good idea of the Greek ecosystem. I will be available for questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Piros. I will now invite Lavros Digonis, CEO of Insibio, to make a presentation about the investments and development opportunities in Greece from an investor, from a private point of view. Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here, and also the Institute for this invitation. I will say a few words about Insibio, which is an artificial intelligence technology company. We try to revolutionize the discovery of biomarkers, a key component in the medical and nutrition industry. What is a biomarker? It's something we discover that has to do with the disease in question, either in the drug response or the treatment itself. If we discover, that's something very difficult, but if we discover, that will help in diagnosis and prognosis of the disease. They predict the exact response to drugs or food, minimize the risks for failed trials, and because we have an efficient stratification of patients participating in the trials, we interpret very correctly the cause of the disease and allow precision medicine drugs and accurate therapies for any disease. So that is the important element we intend to help with. The problem we are facing in the industry, both in health and nutrition, is that the current approach is not able to identify single and comprehensive biomarkers because of the huge data complexity, and the identification is inefficient, inaccurate, and in financial terms is financially not feasible. The existing tools and approaches identify single task-oriented individual instead of biomarkers that take into consideration whatever happens in the system of the human body and are very, very costly. So our solution, which has been completed technologically, and it's the only one that globally has an integrated end-to-end and accurate biomarker discovery process. It's a machine learning network-based approach that goes directly into patent-protected outcomes because we are patent protected already, and integrates simultaneously data from a vast number of sources with an increasing number of consistency gradually. And we identify very, very few and very, very accurate and comprehensive biomarkers. That was the problem. What we do is we take input from different sources, public databases and knowledge, hospital, health records, research institutes data, biological experiments like blood, clinical trials, and data coming from pharma companies. We analyze this through the Insibio suite, which is the main platform, having a lot of different and specialized tools, and the output is directly biosignatures that are patentable, trained diagnostic and prognostic models, and the analysis report is very comprehensive in order to go forward into FDA, if necessary, and scientific journal publications. The existing software is performing only part of the analysis in various areas. So, highlighting our company, our technology is scalable, ready to take to the next growth phase. Our business model is twofold: technology licensing and offering to clients of an integrated environment of creating these tools and go forward into commercially exploiting them. The market is huge and very attractive. The USP the discovery of biomarkers that are very accurate and very precise. Our organization, as you see, is very lean and mean. What we did is investigation and activities in many areas, both in nutrition, but mainly in pharma, in brain tumors, stroke, cardiovascular risk prediction, and precision pain, where from the discovery phase, we evaluated the results, validated, which is a necessary phase, and we have started commercialization in brain tumor biomarkers in cardiovascular, and we have commercial products in precision pain therapy, working with global companies in the area. The market is huge. Even the serviceable market is more than 1 billion. It's incredible. And that is the plan. What we do here now is assisting in two areas: the preclinical trials and the clinical trials, and the personalized medicine and nutrition by producing biomarkers serving these areas. But the additional diagnostic technology is what comes next, and nutrition. But we have also identified areas of added value in cosmeceuticals and nutraceuticals, and actually that was one of the areas that we examined in France back in 2017, I discussed before. So that was the vision. But the vision mainly is what this kind of technology can help with in clinical trials, especially that if that technology was incorporated, much less than 60% of clinical trials that fail now will not fail, because we would have a much more accurate stratification of patients, and we might have some more better stratification of the final products, drugs, so to speak, targeting specific segments of the population. But it will be more accurate, cheaper, because of the less time and less cost involved in the clinical trials, and will be much more efficient if that kind of technology is integrated. Our team is dynamic. All of us are engineers with strong scientific background. And our extended team works also in London and in the US. And our scientific advisory committee comes from the two sides of the Atlantic, helping us into delivering the right ingredients of the products. We're also seeking some funding, which would be invested in marketing and sales, the R&D, and the patent and lab infrastructure in order to facilitate the commercialization of our own discovered biomarkers. We have so far, in many competitions and fora, got prizes. One which is relevant, and if you see, it's both in the US, in Europe, and in Far East, in China and Japan. What is relevant here is that we got the first prize in health big data of Sanofi back in 2017, and that initiated through Viva Technology a discussion of how we could incorporate some sort of operation in France, but it just didn't happen to find the right partners to do it either through Lyon Biopole or through Alsace BioValley. We have many companies that we work with and many publications around the world. Thank you very much. I'm open to questions.
Lavros. Thank you. Yeah, is it working? Yes. Thank you very much, Lavros. Please join us. And now for the conclusion of this part, I will invite Alexandros Sakelanu, COO of Kinvent.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandros. I'm the COO of Kinvent Biomechanique. We are a team of healthcare professionals and engineers. We help physiotherapists follow up progress efficiently and build patient engagement. We are the best in connected assessments and training. Our technologies are mostly used in rehabilitation, but also in sports performance preventions and fitness. An IoT, software as a service for the physiotherapists in sports, and we are profitable and cash flow positive. In 3 years company time, we have acquired 3,000 professionals, customers in 23 countries, among with the Mayo Clinic in the USA, the medical staff of the UFC, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Paris Saint-Germain, French hospitals, the French and Canadian Army, the French and Brazilian Soccer Federation, and gone above the million in 2020. You probably know Rafael Varane and Stefan Tsitsipas. Now you know also Thanasis, which is the CEO of the company and the founder. Varane is also an investor to our company in the last round we did a week ago. Now we have a unique way of leading a man through the path of progress. Have you ever been to the physiotherapist? Probably, yeah. And my experience was like it was frustrating because even if all physicians was really passionate about what they're doing, sessions seemed to be boring and inefficient. How many times did I hear like, okay, you're going well, don't you feel stronger? And compared to the last season, you stand better. But in Kinvent, we came to the conclusion that there are two things missing: objective data and patient motivation. When we look at the existing professional tools, those are unpractical, time-consuming for the therapist, and above all, patient unfriendly. Results: they are used by less than 5% of the community of physicians, and 20% of patients abandoned before completing all decisions. Our solution is number one, and we have a 3-year lead over the worldwide competitors. A sales manager from the big US competitor came to us to join us in 2020. Another competitor offered to buy Kinvent Biomechanique last year. That's why, based on IoT technology and biomechanics, we have built a system of an application and 7 sensors to lead more than 80% of the functional assessment and training done in a clinic in a versatile, patient-friendly, and efficient manner. Thus, targeted training, motivated training, immediate personalized printed results, therefore increasing effectiveness of intervention and building patient engagement through tools. All the system is FDA registered, approved, and CE marked for medical devices. We have 2 patents and 15 publications. This is our expert advisory board that we've made in the networking we did in France. The first time, let me check. The first time we raised money from the Unifund, a fund from Greece, and from some other angels in Montpellier. And we use also that we based in incubator in Cap Omega in Montpellier, and we use also some other tools from the French government, like the regions in Occitanie, and we get some grants from there, and they provide us a lot of information and very good networking in order to meet all those professionals and be in the industry and more in the high-end industry. Our market strategy has been started with a high-level sports medical staff. We are now selling in a physical therapist, offices and clinics, potential market 1 billion per year. And we'll soon leverage those physiotherapists to access the home rehabilitation market. Potential is about 1 billion market per year. To move to the wellness market, which is huge, close to 100 billion. Today, we are expanding in physiotherapy sector, as you can see from the chart, and started experimenting in home rehabilitation. This is not really interesting. We operate the company by 2 countries, in Greece and in France, in Montpellier. In Montpellier, we have a business development, and in Greece, we have the operation. So in France, we're doing the sales and the strategic marketing, and in Greece, we're doing all the logistic, the manufacturing, the assembly, the design, development, etc., etc. That's all about Tech Invent. I think I was fast.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you very
Alexandros.
much.
Please join us, and we will take questions from the audience. But maybe before starting with the audience, I would have maybe a first question. We have the chance now today to have the 2 representatives from companies from the health tech. We know that it's a very flourishing sector in Greece, and I think Spiros can certify it. How can you give us the main reasons why this sector especially is so flourishing on the Greek market? Do you have any specific explanation? Because this is definitely one of the strongest.
Only from my experience, we are in the hardware sector, so the medical device cannot be in the mass market like some other products, and so we have to be in a regulated environment. And we have the knowledge, and we have also the market of the medical device is quite amateur. So we can do a lot of improvements and create. We provide added value to this system. I think this is from our side.
I would say follow the money. Since the population worldwide is getting older, more disease, and now we do have more tools to examine, test, and cure. So that was inevitably the launching pad for the sector. But at the same time, a lot of technological advance like big data availability would allow for more innovative efforts to flourish. So if you combine all this, the data, it comes with the age, with the time, and because more money now is being put in this area, we will see this phenomenon growing, not only in Greece, but we're following the general trend worldwide.
If I can add, I totally agree, but also we have to consider that healthcare is a deep tech domain, and in Greece we are very, very strong in deep tech research. We are less strong in sales and marketing, and that's what we are trying to correct, and that's why you have moved to Montpellier to do the sales of your company, and you have moved to the US to do the same. So for me, it's a very promising domain. We have another company based in London, which is called PD Neurotechnology. It's focused on Parkinson's disease, and they are doing also great. It's a domain with great future.
Thank you very much for these comments. Any question from the audience? Any remark or any comments? Yes, please.
Yes, hello. Actually, a question for both of you. Do you have challenges collecting your big data with respect to data protection rules and all that? How do you overcome that?
Indeed, that's the biggest of the challenges. The big data, depending on who owns it might be a tech company, it might be a lab, or a big pharma. Who owns that? The ones who are the owners of the trial and the production of the data. So they are very protective of their data. However, what we are a conduit for results that will help them. So we're always trying to find ways of exploiting the data, but at the same time maintaining the rights of theirs to the data. So what kind of relationships emerge out of this is that they use the platform agnostic to the data. So they just upload the data or even establish the infrastructure within their premises. So they feel totally dependent. That's the one. To give you a very striking example, Nestlé Institute of Health Sciences had a very specialized type of data, proteomics, and we were in discussions for 1 year just to see how they would avoid exporting the data and what kind of requirements out of Switzerland. So the interim solution was to establish a system that will test the validity of the data, and we would do the work on site. So that's one type of difficulty. The other type, however, is that we share the data, and they are open to share the results of the analysis of the data. So we publish together, we issue papers together, and we go further into exploiting the biomarkers together. So we see a lot of models, but definitely utilizing the data, acquiring and finding ways is one big obstacle we have to overcome every time.
Any other question from the audience? Yes, please.
Thank you. We saw that in France, if you want, as a foreign investor, to penetrate the market or to invest, you can basically find a strong institutional support and support from private actors. What would you recommend to a foreign investor, a French, let's say, or a French startup? What should they do? Whom could they address? Which institution could they talk to find the assistance, to understand better and penetrate the market?
I think you're talking about French companies that want to open a branch office in Greece. Startups, yes. Well, now we have the Ministry of Development, which has created Elevate Greece. We have also Invest in Greece, Enterprise Greece, which helps a lot investors from abroad. But as a member, an active member of the ecosystem, I think everybody knows all the embassies, the French embassy, the UK embassy, and the US embassy. We have the chambers also that can help. Also the French chambers of commerce, and this could help the initiation of a startup or an innovative SME to Greece.
Any other comments on your side in terms of? Yes. If you could give us, yes, your insights about this.
You can start the networking quite easy. They will networking you with VCs and angels, etc. You will present your what are you solving, and if it's fit or right, it's go.
Now, I would have another question. Oh, over there. Yes, please.
Yes,
Sure.
thank you. I would like to make a comment to continue and maybe provide some more information in relation to the question. I'm George Karantonis from Metavalon VC. First of all, I think it was a great presentation and great workshop today, because I had the opportunity to see things from different perspectives and points of view, and this is very helpful. As it was mentioned, the Greek ecosystem is a really small ecosystem. So I think, of course, there are all the government initiatives and, let's say, services that support entrepreneurship. But really, there are less than 10 funds that are focusing in early stage technology investment. So it is very easy to find them. Most of them are, have been developed 4 years through the initiative of Equifund of the Greek government and the European Investment Fund. So it's very easy to find them. And there are also maybe about 5 business accelerators or so. So it is easy to find them. So, of course, I would also like to confirm what you said, your comment about health tech in Greece. When we started, we are a horizontal fund. When we started our activity 4 years ago, we had no plans to focus on health tech and biotech. But today, after 26 investments that we have concluded in Greece, we have seen that 25% of our investments is related to this sector. And this is related to the, let's say, availability to the supply of quality deals and quality proposals in this sector. And we see this as a continuing trend in the deal flow that we are receiving today as we are preparing to raise our second fund. I think, and to conclude my comment, I think that maybe a suggestion from my side would be to try to find ways to bring together funds from France and from Greece, because Greece is also a good entry point for the ecosystem of Southeastern Europe. And in our activity during the last years, we have created a lot of synergies with funds and investment, let's say, other investment bodies from the area, the surrounding area. So this would be a very good, let's say, opportunity for France to get access to the whole ecosystem of the area. So this is something that we could also discuss. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for these comments, and I will actually continue on your comments with a question to the speakers. What could be from France? All right, France, those last few years has asserted itself as one of the main actors in terms of startup ecosystem, in terms of tech and innovation ecosystem in France. And the comment we just had was the following: it would be very much necessary to get closer together, to close the gap between our two ecosystems. What would be for you the main initiative that could be taken in this way? This is a very large question. Just to have your thought on this. What could be the main initiative in terms of both getting closer together those two environments, and in terms of financing attractions?
Actually, we did this. We get the first money from the Greek VCs, the Unifund, and then when we have like the acceptance of this fund that they trust us, we found easier in France some other angels and some other VCs. That's connect those two ecosystems, and I think from now they have more connections, because we are in the second round. Actually, in the first round, it was like pre-seed round before. So yeah, I agree with Mr. Karadonis that you have to meet the Greek VCs, and probably they have more connection now. And afterwards, you have to ask for you have a lead investment, and you can find some co-investors to go on. I think this is the most efficient way to do it if you are very small.
Mr. Kaladonis actually said about what is missing now. However, the implementation of such a relationship, it's important. It's more important than the idea, because funds exist in both sides, but the common denominator, which is areas to invest, two tools to use in order to proceed into evaluation and investment, but most importantly, the common vision. What is missing now is the vision, mostly. Why? Because each market has its own constraints, its own approach, and which these, despite the proximity of the cultural proximity or other relationship, that business approach is not the same. So by aligning those two, then establishing a common understanding on how to evaluate and proceed with the next investments would be the next step. But the first would be a roundtable, some sort of brainstorming with the funds that need to come together. And I don't know if individual funds could do that, or it could be an institutional approach from the governments that will direct, and it would be inclusive of funds in order to have a discussion on these broad lines.
If I can add, I think the main issue is that Greece is out of scope for the French ecosystem. It's not a common area like many African countries and Asia countries and so on. Although, for me, I always take a step-by-step approach. So I think the first thing that is missing is awareness. Incipio was the winner of a big competition. I don't know if other Greek companies have participated in French competitions. I don't know if they know which competitions are fit to their needs. Also, we have Kinvent, who wanted to do sales and marketing in France, and so they integrated an incubator in Montpellier. I don't know how many Greek startups knows how to do that, how to contact the incubator, and what are the possibilities where you are in the incubator, how what they can do for you. So I think we could start with awareness, which is the first step, and then we could try to, and I'm sure that Lambros and also Alex can help us with to share their experience to a bigger audience that we have today. And also we have to fight to find co-investments with the funds, with Yorgos and the other funds. I think that's the way to do it.
Thank you very much. We have another questions here. Yeah, sure.
I want to say something. Maybe it is too simplistic, but I will take the opportunity to say it. I think the language is a problem. I think that for me personally, it is not clear what is the objective of France. I mean, are you open to the English language, or you prefer, which is of course very very reasonable, to promote the use of your language? Because for let's say technology startups, especially when they are doing some consumer app, it is they usually develop it in English. The first language that they develop is English, so it is easier for them to seek, when they try to expand, an English speaking market for the next expansion phase, and then to try to add more and more languages. So this is something that maybe we have to discuss. I mean, if someone can do business in France today using the English language, I think it will make things much easier. If it is not, it takes more. For example, the founder of Kinvent has some French relations. His mother is so that's why it was easier for him to go and establish his company in France. If there is no such, let's say, relation with France, things I think it is are a bit more difficult. So it's a simplistic comment, but maybe you want to take it into consideration.
But absolutely, absolutely. And we have a comment from.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marie Villon from La French Tech. I'm going to do a presentation later in the afternoon. So if you want to come, I'm going to explain a lot of things about what we do at French Tech. But first, like I was overreactive to your question, because yes, in France, we want to speak English. And it's true that it's a bit a cliche that French people, they speak French and they don't speak good English, but like it's changing a lot now in France. And concerning technology and what we do at French Tech, obviously we want to work in English and to develop technologies in English, so we can all work together, and we can welcome your startup, your investments, but also we're working on developing our startup to expand internationally. And even more today, we're positioning France at a European level, and we want to work with our EU member countries. So of course, for the English, it's coming, it's already here, but we're working on it. But you can find in Paris or in our regions, people speaking English to welcome you, and the product that we develop or that we can develop together, obviously they're going to be in English. So just a comment for the English. Then for the when we welcome investments or startup in France, you have different organizations that can help you to do that. And you have, of course, Business France Invest, and you had the presentation earlier. Also at French Tech, we have 43 French Tech communities all over France. So not just in Paris, but in every regions, and almost not every cities, but for example, we have one in Montpellier. So they're a good point of entry for you to come and to ask your questions, and then they can open the relationships with our institutions or incubators or businesses. So I think between Business France and La French Tech, we are pretty covered in terms of welcoming you in France. And on the other side, we also work at French Tech to develop our French startup internationally. So we have also 63 French tech communities all over the world to do that. And yeah, if you'll be here this afternoon or like at lunch, I'm available to answer your questions. But I will do a presentation this afternoon about what we do in more details.
Just a quick comment on that, George, from my experience as well. When we started working with our French colleagues, do you know the keyboard, the French keyboard, is different. It's you're looking for the A, but the A is there and the K is there. but yes, I confirm that the younger generations are definitely fluent in English and definitely open to other cultures, and definitely, I confirm. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much for those comments, and I very much think that we touch to the core of the problematics. To how is it possible to get our two ecosystems closer together? And maybe we could have a few words from you, Alexandros, a few like feedbacks and return of experience in terms of how you were perceived as a Greek startups going to France. What were the reactions of your incubator? What were the reactions of other startups? Did you find any difficulty? Can you make us a brief return
I
of
would do like a
experience?
brief because Afanasi no, in
Montpellier.
yeah.
Yes.
Afanasi, that he's bilingual. He speaks French like Greek. Yeah. In before 3 years, it was more difficult. Now it's easier. They make improvements. Now we have like 15 colleagues there that we speak English. We communicate very well. I'm calling to the incubator. I have access to everything. I don't need a fantasy to show me how to do things. I can do it myself. And I don't speak French at all, just bonjour. Yeah, thanks. It takes me 2 months. And now it's the communication is easier, and I think they're doing a lot of progress. And the next few years, it's the bridge gonna be done. I don't know. It's not so complicated anymore, I think.
Yes.
And also, they can ask also Greeks that they are located there and ask information how to do this. How you can do your own research in sometimes.
Thank you very much for this. And as Marie was saying, she will make a presentation about what the French Tech is. This is quite a recent initiative. It was launched in 2013, and with that that was a game changer in terms of how the ecosystem got together and how it could expand towards at the international level. So we will have a presentation about this, and also a presentation about what we are trying to do here locally and how to get closer connections between our two ecosystems. I think there were questions over there from Alberto. Yes, please.
It was just a very brief comment on about two subjects that were evocated a few minutes ago. So the first, again, for English, I agree with Marie, but I agree also in part with you in the sense that it has been changing in the last few years. So especially for the technological sector and innovation, everybody speaks English, so it is very easy to do business and to work in France, even if you do not speak French. On the other side, it depends a lot on the application of your technology. See if the technology and the solution must be applied to the personnel that works inside the hospital. For example, since we talked about health, of course, the solution must be in French since everybody has to use it inside the hospital. So I agree with you also when you say that maybe at the first step, when you develop an English solution, you think most to English-speaking countries because it avoids you to develop also a version of a French solution in this case. But doing business, you will be not discriminated because you not speak English for sure, French, sorry. And just another brief comment about what was said before regarding potential initiative that could be launched and done for a mutual knowledge of Greek and French ecosystem. I think there's a lack of knowledge and awareness. So there should be some initiatives to do like education on French side and on Greek side, since from outside it is very difficult, in my opinion, to understand what is going on a country. And we do still always remain with ideas that we can have from television, from other people that we know. So also, as it was said, very often Greece is outside the scope of French funds. This, I think, is also because there's a lack of knowledge of it. So I think we could start to think together how we could launch other events like the one of today to increase the awareness and the knowledge of both parts.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any other question or any comments, any remark from the audience? Yes, please, please.
Just a last comment about the language on behalf of the French Institute. We hope that all the companies and the Greeks and foreigners, doing their business in France, they will learn French.
Yes, there is a question at the back.
The mic for use the mic, please, for the spectators online. Sorry, I'm going to divert from the language, which is a hot topic. I think one of the fundamental issues is probably we need to teach both ecosystems, the startups from both ecosystems, to be more extrovert. I think that's probably one of the weaknesses. When you are a startup, you're very focused on what you want to do, where you want to go, but you forget that you need the skills to be an extrovert and actually start discussing with other stakeholders around. And probably that's why organizations like clusters and funds can actually play a role in supporting that aspect and sort of teach startups to be able to communicate. And I agree with you that common and joint initiatives, but real initiatives in paper rather than just a theoretical, oh, we should do something together. Let's actually sort of discuss it, put it down and make a plan over the next 24 months of what initiatives can be both and bring the two ecosystems together with all the stakeholders and everyone involved. A great event other than that.
Well, thank you very much. Any other question? Well, I think we will then close this part of the events. I think we had a very nice overview about the investments and development opportunities, both in France and in Greece, with very nice testimonies from professionals. I think it enabled us to draw the biggest lines of the biggest problematics about what is missing to get our two ecosystems closer together. So I think this is why we will organize this second part of the event, trying to present a bit more in details what the French Tech is, because the French Tech has been the main initiatives in terms of gathering together the French ecosystem and how to project it at the international level. So maybe and hopefully we will have answers to our questions. And so once again, I would like to thank you all very much. Thank you, Alberto Frescura from Business France, Evangelos Angelides from Profile Software. Thank you to Lavros Digonis from Insibio, Alexandros Sakelanou from Kinvent, and Spiros Arsenis from NVG Business Seed. Once again, thank you very much to the audience, and we're looking forward to see you all this afternoon. Thank you very much.